Alright guys, just kind of wanted to give an update of where I'm at on my Alaska trip. I purchased my 22 Harley Davidson Pan America this last December. At that time, it had about 3,500 miles on it. And since this last week, we're up to about 10,000. So in the last 6 months, I've been able to ride her mostly in the state of Florida, and then was able to take her for the first outside state trip to Tennessee for the Tennessee Motorcycle Music Revival. In that time, she's been pretty reliable. I've only had one issue where it was stranded, and which happened to be a battery issue that's part of a service bulletin. So after that battery grounding issue was taken care of, I've had no issues with this bike. So really, really happy with my purchase, and I definitely recommend the Pan America for a whole variety of travel. I do think the comfort level for this bike, as well as the capabilities, make it a really, really good all-around motorcycle. So I did want to give you a little bit of an update of some of the enhancements that I've done to this bike. The most obvious is the color. This is not a stock Harley color. I did do a DIY wrap. Unless you have a lot of patience, I wouldn't recommend trying to wrap your motorcycle. But it is a very cost-effective way to change the color of your bike in a short period of time. With that said, it did take 7 hours to wrap the tank, the lowers, and the front cowl. And this bike also, when I purchased it, happened to have aluminum panniers, which since then I have also wrapped in a black instead of purchasing the black boxes. It also took me about 7 hours, so I wouldn't recommend that either, but at least it got me the aesthetic that I was looking for. The other thing that I've done with this bike is I've added a lot of lighting to this bike. I know the old school Harley Davidson mentality is loud pipes to save lives. This motorcycle sounds like an angry sewing machine. So eventually I will upgrade the exhaust, which I'll talk about in a little bit too. But I did want to be seen. Most cars these days, the road noise and other vehicles are not heard. So to light up this bike so you can see it from Mars would probably be the most ideal. So what I did is I went with the Denali Electronics D4s on the front. They are yellow, which you cannot miss. And even riding at only like 30%, they're very bright. I also upgraded to the T3 turn signals on the front and the rear. The daytime running lights, which are located currently on the front axle, but I probably will be changing them out to the side of the bike on the fairings to be able to see from the side view. And I also have brake lights. So this bike is now a lot more visible on the road, which whether I'm in like a desert setting or dark and low light settings, I think you can definitely see it a lot better than you did before. So that was the main thing that I did at the first point when I got this bike. The next thing is I started working about some of the comfort things. I did end up changing out to the whole MADSTAD system. I found that doing some of the higher speed travel, the windshield that comes stock with this bike would shake quite a bit. And also I'd have a lot of the wind buffeting. So I looked into some of the other brands. Most windshields though happen to be just a larger windshield on the same cage. With the exception of the MADSTAD system, MADSTAD decided to completely rework the windshield cage that it's attached to a whole metal cage. So now that all of this is metal, the windshield does not move. It's also adjustable in multiple angles. So now that I'm able to find kind of the sweet spot, I do not have any more wind buffeting. It doesn't shake at all. I went with the 18-inch medium gray. There's 3 different colors, 4 different heights. Pretty much you'll find whatever works perfect for you, but there's quite a bunch of different choices in which windshield option you'd like for that. The other thing I did for the windshield system is I did do the dash riser, since I've had risers on the handlebars. So now I'm actually able to see the speedometer and the rest of my infotainment sensor. And I did do the navigation bar. The navigation bar for this specific system I find a little bit more superior since it has a pin in it that doesn't allow the bar itself to rotate. So when putting things on my rock form mount, I don't have any of that rotation from the bar itself. So I think the whole MADSTAD system was a really, really smart option for me. And I definitely recommend checking them out. They're here in Brooksville, Florida. Definitely well-made in-house and really awesome people. So definitely check the MADSTAD guys out. The other thing I did is, as I said, the risers for the handlebars. I do come from bigger touring Harleys where the risers or the handlebars are a little bit higher. I felt that the low position that the stock handlebars are would not work very well for me, even if I'm a little bit on the shorter side. So originally I sent them out to change them into rock risers or Rocks brand risers. These bar back risers only gave me about a 3/4 of an inch back towards me. That wasn't enough on this last long distance travel to Tennessee. I noticed how that just wasn't enough for my reach. So I just switched them out to the Hilly Bar brand risers, which are 2 inches up and 2 inches back. I've only had them on for a day and I've only rode it around the block, but it does seem to give me a lot better position for my arms. So I'm hoping for the next long distance trip, which happens to be New York to Babes Ride Out and Laconia, that I'll get a little bit more idea if these are the right risers for me. The other thing is I added a little bit more vehicle protection. On those handlebars, I have these hand guards. These are Hepco and Becker brand hand guards. I did get them from Moto Machines. I know during the description of these hand guards, it doesn't say it necessarily works with the risers, but I didn't have any issues with both the Rocks brand risers or these Helibar ones to install them. But again, that's something in the description to make note of, but I've had no problem with installing them on mine. They do run the line of the handlebars themselves, so I guess it just depends on how your risers are attached. But as of right now, I have not had issues with both the Rocks brand and the Helibar brand risers. The other thing that I did is this little bit of a wind protection. These are just off of Amazon, but I kind of love them. So, handguard wise, that's where I'm at. The other thing that I got from Moto Machines is this heat shield. The heat shield has been really beneficial for the left leg. I'm still working on the right leg. This machine makes a lot of heat. I'm finding that in the state of Florida, especially in stop and go traffic, it burns my right leg. So I'm still working on exhaust options and maybe seeing where I can go from that. The rest of the vehicle protection I have on this is this lower engine guard. It is a Pizoma brand engine guard. I did take my Pan America in Tennessee off-road. This bike is not set up as an off-road bike, but you know, when in Rome or when in Tennessee, I took advantage of the trails that they had there. Unfortunately, being super muddy and a limited experience, and street tires, the mud kind of made it a little challenging. So the bike did drop twice. With that said, the engine guards did protect my motorcycle. She's fine. But the guard itself bent pretty severely while I was on the trail. I did get the chance to bend it back, but I don't think an engine guard should bend to the extreme, especially at such a low speed, barely tip over that it had. So I really don't necessarily recommend this engine guard from Pizoma, but I do have them on and I don't plan on taking them off unless I find a better option. So also attached to my engine guard, I have some highway pegs. Since I do so much long distance travel, highway pegs are kind of nice to have. These, they also flip up. They're Cerakoted black, but they're from Adventure Bike Pegs. They're a little pricey for what they are, but I think the quality is amazing. So definitely check those out. The other pegs that I have on this bike, I did upgrade my foot pegs. These are from Black Dog CYCLEWORKS. So when I first got this Pan America, one of the things to transition to was from my Road Glides floorboards to pretty much the smallest little stock peg that you could get. This stock peg, my foot kept even slipping off of. And I know I could have removed the rubber piece, but it was really, really a small peg for such a bike. So I switched them out to these Black Dog CYCLEWORKS pegs, which kind of have more of a mini floorboard size to them for me. I do feel much more comfortable standing up on my pegs. I think that they're quite a benefit. I was a little nervous when I first purchased them on how much they would ruin the tread, possibly on my boots, but I've not experienced that. So I really do recommend checking out the Black Dog CYCLEWORKS pegs for this bike. I'm really, really happy with them. The next thing I did on the way of comfort for this bike is I upgraded the seat. So this bike did come with the stock Harley Davidson seat. I did switch it up to the low option Harley Davidson seat, but it still wasn't doing it for me. If you know me, I actually have CORBIN seats on like all my bikes, mainly because they're pretty much the best quality for me. Different bodies were shaped differently. This generally fits my hips a lot better than some of the other really great brands out there. So no knocking any of other brands, but CORBIN, you guys got me. So they actually are a California-based company, but they happen to have a showroom in Daytona or Ormond Beach area. Daytona is about the same. So about an hour away, I was able to go into their showroom. I'm able to ride my bike into the showroom, and they put on all the seats that they have for this bike and allow me to do a test ride with them. The other thing that I really, really like about CORBIN, you can customize your seat to pretty much whatever you want. This time I went with a solid black purple stitching, which I do on all the bikes. I did do a purple welt, and this time an alligator print. So I'm really, really happy with the quality and the customization that CORBIN allows for their seats. So definitely check out CORBIN. I know they're a little pricey, but they're worth it. Okay. So as I said, this bike came with the aluminum panniers, which I do love the aluminum long beam panniers. They'll be probably switched out eventually to some stock bags. I like MOSKO Moto's backcountry bags. Unfortunately, they're a little pricey, but they'll probably be switched out soon enough. So I do love the MOSKO Moto brand stuff. I typically travel with my Nomad tank bag. One of the things that I do credit some of my long distance traveling from is to be able to hydrate while I'm on the road. Also snacks. All right. So this is a Nomad bag. This is one of their way older styles. They now have a Nomax bag, but I bought this one off the Facebook Marketplace for like quarter of the price that the new ones were. It was just a more cost-effective option for me, and I really, really like it. The other thing when it comes to MOSKO Moto, I have their Scout bag. This is the 50-liter bag. This is what I have for the back seat. However, if you haven't noticed, there's something going on over here. I am working on a DIY project to be able to support my Scout bag a little bit better, as well as adding an ability to attach a fuel bottle to it. I know that Black Dog CYCLEWORKS makes their helipad, and this is probably similar to that, but my dad's a welder. I have a little bit of DIY skills, so I'm trying to see if there's something that I can make that fits both the MOSKO Moto bag and the fuel tank that I would like to. But more than likely, I might just go ahead and buy that helipad. So we'll see how that goes. All right. So the other thing that I do have for this bike, on the top of my panniers, I have these from Moto Machines as well. They're amphibious bags. Of course, I have my first aid kit in one of them, and the other side, I have my tool kit. I cannot tell you how many times I've been on the road and needed to fix something. Sometimes it's really small. Sometimes I just need a zip tie, but sometimes it's a little bit bigger, and having a really good toolkit is really important. Currently, this toolkit is just a Mod Podge of extra tools that I have that I found that I've needed so far for this Pan America. I am looking at some of the wear tools, hopefully to be able to put together a better kit for the Alaska trip, but that's one of the things that I'm working on. The other thing that I have attached for this last trip to Tennessee is these. Got them off of Amazon. I think they're pretty okay for the price. I attached them to my engine guard. I did put things in them that I wasn't concerned that got wet, or wasn't concerned if they fell off and I lost. But they held their own, and I don't see that any problem. But Amazon Wild Heart brand 6-liter bags seem to work pretty well for out there. So as I said, the other thing that I'm working on is trying to reduce the heat from this motorcycle. She's hot. She's really, really, really hot. And I keep ending up having burns all down my right leg, especially after either a really long trip or a trip with lots of stop and go traffic. I have ordered, not that I like the Zoma exhaust that removes the bread box that's down there. So hopefully some of that will reduce the heat that's coming off of the right side of the bike. The next thing I'm thinking about is maybe getting one of the racing headers that removes the cat, but I'm not really sure where we're going with that. I just want to try to do a different exhaust first. Again, I don't subscribe as much to the old school Harley loud pipes save lives, especially when you're doing 14,000 miles round trip. I don't want to be listening to that the entire time. So looking at different exhaust options, that's the one I'm going with. It's a cost-effective option for something temporary. I do think the Jekyll and Hyde might be a good option because I do like the sound of it. It's just not in my budget. But there's only so many different options that they make for a Pan America, and I'm just not sure where we're going with that just yet. So with the Alaska trip itself, guys, the route has been planned since last August. I'm very type A. I like to have these planned out in lots of detail. So I've known that I wanted to leave a certain date. I wanted to spend 2 days in Key West. Then I'm going to pretty much beeline it through west to the northernmost point in Angles Inlet, Minnesota in like 2 days and make my way across Canada. After I get through Canada, and I want to spend about a week in Alaska itself. The intention is I'd like to do one of those whale trips, and Denali National Park happens to have what looks like a pretty cool whitewater rafting trip. So we'll see, we might do that. And on my way to Dead Horse in Prudhoe Bay, Alaska. On my way back, my intention is to hit Sturgis. Sturgis biking will just be starting, and I want to spend maybe like 4 days in Sturgis. I'm kind of leaving that one up in the air a little bit. I don't know how tired I might be in the fact that I'm going to go to Sturgis. I don't know how many events that I want to be at in Sturgis. So I know I want to spend a couple days there, make my way back to Orlando, and then probably day trip back to the southernmost point at max. It's about 12 hours. That's it. The route has been planned. I have planned pretty much all of my lodging stops. I have decided to not camp this trip, mainly because it reduces a lot of weight and fares. So I think that currently I am intending on staying at either friends' places or at hotels. It is making this trip cost a little bit more than the rest of my trips, hence the reason I camp so many things. It's much more cost effective, but I don't think it's right for this trip. So I've been working a lot, trying to make sure that all these hotels are paid for, and that's where we're at.
All right, so I will be leaving on July 12th for this Alaska trip. Until then, I definitely still have some Babes Ride Out, Laconia, and Maine travel to be doing, so follow along for that. If anybody would like to share my content, that would be super cool. And then in the description below, I'll have my Venmo if you want to help me out a little bit. That would be also really awesome. I really appreciate the motorcycle community and like really just the support y'all have. So I really love that. And then in the description, I'm going to have all the links for all those previous videos I've done. So if you want to check out some of the other things that I've been up to, and I'm going to try to give some links for the products that I've put on this Pan America to make it a little bit easier to find also. So yeah, check it out, and thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate y'all and just letting me live out some of my dreams.